Shalom, shalom. In today's third installment, I'm going to go over another piece of artifact that's being used in the Israelite community to try to further validate that Hispanics and Native Americans are Israelites, and is dealing with the Newark Delica stone. And you can go ahead and check it out, read the article for yourself on ohiohistory.org. And it says, conclusive proof that the Newark Delica stone is what, yet again, um, is a forgery and not a very good one at that. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article briefly. And it says, back in the summer of 1991, Jeff Gill, an avocational archaeologist and all around the polymath, and I were just beginning to make a serious effort to figure out what the Newer Holy Stones were all about. Jeff is a discipline of Christ minister, has studied Hebrew at Christian Theological Seminary in Indianapolis. See, here it is, you have an individual who also studied the language. He's a linguistic expert in the Hebraic tongue or the Hebraic language. And it says, in looking over analysis of the Decalogue stone inscription published by the Ohio State University professor of economics, Hudson McCullough, he noticed a recurring pattern of errors that appeared to indicate that the inscription must have been based on modern 19th century Hebrew and not ancient Hebrew and ancient Paleo Hebrew. And it says that the late Frank Morcross, then an emeritus professor at Harvard University's Department of Near Eastern Languages and Civilization, was not only one of the world's foremost scholars of ancient Hebrew, but he also had shown a willingness to work with North American archaeologists in the study of W's artifacts. We therefore decided to write Cross a letter to see if he agreed with Jeff's conclusion. And here's how we summarize Jeff's argument for Cross in the section of the inscription corresponding to Exodus chapter 20, verse 16. The verb to covet, okay, DHM, appears twice in the call imperfect DMHT. However, the first use of this verb on the stone is given as KMHT, a cap, replacing the expected delet, whereas the Hebrew avaterminal kap might well be mistaken for a delet and the Decalogue alphabet. There is no such similarity. It would seem that only someone consulting a modern Hebrew original and transporting it to a cipher could have placed the kaf at this point, especially since the second usage of the same verb immediately following, is correctly given as DMHD. And B, every other sikh is either a complete omission, an insertion between correct letters, or a mistaken transcription of letters that are similar with the identical alphabet. Much of Jeff's gratification plus response that this explanation is certainly correct. So I'm going to continue on. And it says, between Gill and Cross demonstration that the delicate stone was a forgery and my own discovery of the probable source of its design, and serious debate over its authenticity was over. Hence then, Jeff and I have focused on the fascinating questions of just why someone in 1860 will go all the trouble and risk creating such a forgery. We have summarized our ideas about that in a couple of papers and blog posts, but every time we plumb the depth of a previously unexplored archive, the story becomes even more complicated than we thought. Eventually, we're going to have to write that book to keep talking about to tell the whole story of this scientific forgery that appear to have purpose entirely consistent with the same that apply in the gist of the New Holy Stones. Brad Leper, for further reading, Leper Bradley T. 1981, Holy Stones of Ohio study. Not so holy after all. While skeptical inquire just how holy are the New York Stones and Vanishing Heritage, edited by P.E. Dodge and B.T. Leper, page 5864, Licking County Archaeology and Landmark Society, New York, 1999. Holy Stones, The Resurrection of Controversy. I mean, these are all the sources you can check out for yourself. And New York Holy Stones, Context of Controversy, edited by P. Malenke, page 112 to 21. Johnson, Hummock House, Museum, Cohaston, Ohio, Ledford, Bradley. I mean, these are all the sources that you can check out for yourself that can substantiate and further proof that that particular piece of so-called stone or so-called artifact have been debunked. And like I was saying in my two previous videos, all of these so-called artifacts, whether it's the Los Lumens inscriptions, whether it's the Back Creek inscriptions, the Delacote stones, when you check out a lot of these so-called Hebraic artifacts, they're all forgeries. A lot of these artifacts have been debunked plenty of times on multiple, numerous occasions. So we got all these different Israelite groups and camps out there who like to utilize outdated information to try to validate that false 12 tribe chart. They also try to validate Hispanics and Native Americans being Israelites. And they also have another group of Israelites who like to utilize those so-called artifacts to try to say that the land of Israel is either located in Peru or Utah or here on the west coast of the United States. But when you check out the history and the layout of all these so-called fightings, I mean, people have done articles, they've written books about all these different so-called discoveries to further prove that they're nothing but forgeries and lies. So this particular piece of stone or so-called artifact is false. It's a forgery. And like I also mentioned in my previous videos, look, at the end of the day, even DNA, even the wild DNA genetic marker also proves that Hispanics and Native Americans are not Israelites. They don't have the exact same DNA as about 60 to 65% of so-called Negroes throughout North Central South America who carry the E1B1A genetic marker and whose ancestors came to the Americas on cargo slave ships. Those are the Israelites. When you check out the Y-DNA genetic marker of Hispanics and natives, it's mainly going to be of European origin. They're mainly going to have either the R, the I, or the G. They're also going to have the Q haplogroup or the C haplogroup, which the Q haplogroup and the C haplogroup you can find that amongst a lot of Southeast Asian people, in particular of Mongolian, Siberian origin, and you're also going to find that among the Eskimos. Okay, even the DNA sequence totally destroys all of these lies and falsehoods. Even if you want to go ahead and read all these different books, you want to go ahead and study all these different materials, you want to go ahead and bring out whatever articles that may support your thesis or your idea, or even if you want to break down the scriptures totally wrong. You want to go in the book of Second Ezra, the 13th chapter, which the book of Second Ezra was not even written by Ezra. I mean, it was written during around the first and the second century. But even if you want to co-sign to that, at the end of the day, DNA totally kills and destroys the whole premise about these people being Israelites, about these people having the bloodline, the Y-DNA paternal bloodline of the ancient Israelites. I mean, it's just that simple. It is what it is, you know. So I'm gonna end this video presentation. I wasn't gonna make this video too long. So with that, I say shalom. All praises due to Yahweh, who is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I say shalom.